Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 148 in my new Comics Haul series where I show you guys all the new books that I pick up at my LCS every week. This looks like a lot of issues, but actually half of them are from last week. So I'll get to those. I'll just go over them briefly at the end of the video. But let's start with this week's issues. I was away last week. I was doing college tours, which I think is the first time I've missed one of these episodes in a while. But let's just get started right here with Marvel Comics. First, we've got some pretty big releases from some good ongoing series and stuff this week. Starting it off here, we've got Fall of the House of X #2. So this is one of the two 5-issue miniseries that they're doing to end off the entire Krakoan era. There's also still a bunch of tie-ins happening, obviously, from all the already ongoing series that were already happening, like X-Men and stuff. But this is like the main kind of event comic that talks about, or I guess that gets to how the Krakoan era itself ends, and then its sister series is Rise of the Powers of 10, and that one is about like the future of the X-Men, how to prevent calamity and everything, and it's really interesting. They're kind of like less intertwined than the original House of X and Powers of 10 are, but this one I think is maybe my favorite so far, based on having read both of the first issues. Because it's really just more of an event series with really big stakes and all these crazy things happening. All the X-Men's biggest forces getting involved together. They're trying to like resurrect Magneto in that tie-in series and everything. And it's really just what the Fall of X was, what I was hoping it would be this whole time. We kind of had a lot of lead up where the X-Men were at their lowest, but this is like their final stand against Orcus. And all of the Orcus henchmen and everything. All the pieces are falling into place. We have like Krakoa as a living island, like running around kind of like Groot style. So crazy things happening in this series. It's Jerry Duggan writing it, and I'm liking it so far. That's Fall of the House of X #2. Next up this week, we've got Vengeance of the Moon Knight #2. Another really good series that started this year. It's just a continuation of Jed MacKay's Moon Knight run, though, with Alessandro Cappuccio, so don't be fooled that this is a new jumping on point. I'd honestly recommend reading the entire original Moon Knight series because it was so good. That was my #1 in the top 10 comics of 2023 video that I did last year. And yeah, it's continuing to be really good. We've got kind of this twist. I don't want to give too much of it away, but something happened to Mark Spector and Moon Knight as he was in the last series. That's kind of why they did the series rebrand, and now he's become some different version of himself that the Midnight Mission, which he used to run, now has to deal with. And something cool about this run is just that Jed MacKay and the whole artistic team have built up this new cast of characters so well that they're able to carry the series on their own, without really Mark Spector having as much of a central role as he did before. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this series continues to be. I'm hoping this is still going to be ongoing, whether or not Mark Spector is going to continue being in the picture, because I'm still rooting for this cast of characters and everything. Still one of my favorite books out there. Really amazing artwork in this one too. Next up, though, from Marvel Comics, another pretty good one I've been liking so far. This is Superior Spider-Man #4. Crazy looking cover. We've got, I think, Uncle Ben beating up Peter Parker in the Superior Spider-Man suit, and then Doc Ock hanging over them all. I just got around to reading #3, and I'm actually liking how it's turning out. We're not actually getting Doc Ock as Superior Spider-Man yet so far in this series. It kind of seems like they're hinting at that, though. It more has to do with this villain that Doc Ock created during his time as Superior Spider-Man that's now that was dormant for a long time and has now come back. Wow, crazy looking artwork here. There's a lot of characters. This villain that's come back from his time that's now attacking Peter Parker because she thinks that he's the one responsible, even though it was actually Doc Ock when he was still in Peter Parker's body. So it's really getting into, it looks like in this issue, getting into the mindscape of Doc Ock and Peter, them battling over who should actually be Spider-Man to defeat this villain and everything. And it's written by Dan Slott, who wrote the original Superior Spider-Man. I feel like he's doing it justice. He might have more of a lighthearted tone in general with his series these days, but I like how he writes Doc Ock, how he writes Peter Parker and everything. And it's kind of taking back a lot of the, like, deprogressing, that's not a word, but whatever. A lot of the, Marvel's kind of been going back to Dr. Octopus as a villain completely lately, which isn't my favorite, but this is getting back to his more heroic motives that he had in Superior Spider-Man, which I can always appreciate. So that's a big recommendation from me so far. Another one in the Spider-Man side of the universe here, though, is Miles Morales Spider-Man. This is #16. The last issue of Gang War tie-ins, we've got Miles fighting Hobgoblin in this big final showdown of him protecting the Brooklyn side of things. Rabble is also involved. His big new villain has been working with Hobgoblin, I guess, like harnessing her technological powers and using them to both of their advantage in this gang war. I have not been reading the main issues of Gang War in Amazing Spider-Man, and it's fine to just go into this blind without having read the main event. I don't think people have been liking it too much in general. I've heard some kind of mixed things, but Miles has continued to be a pretty good series. I like how they're building up the supporting cast of characters. These, I think they're called Cape Killers, this new team of like supervillains with Scorpion, Taskmaster, and a few other characters that have been going after Miles for a while in his own series, but also end up having to team up with him for a lot of it. Ms. Marvel is involved here. Shift, Miles' clone, made a first appearance in a while. So it's ramping up. I think the next issue after this one is going to be number 300 in legacy numbering. So they're bringing back a bunch of old artists for that and stuff. So that should be cool. Coming from Image Comics, though, I've got a couple issues from them this week. First up, we got Transformers, number 5. The Energon universe has been really great lately. I like how they're rolling out all the G.I. Joe titles especially and wrapping them in with Transformers and really connecting all these different players together in a lot of different ways. Transformers, I feel like, is almost the flagship of the Energon universe right now. They like to market Void Rivals as the flagship, but that's like so far detached from anything else going on in like the main storylines that I really feel like Transformers is what you need to be reading that has the most stakes right now, but I'm sure Void Rivals will end up being more involved later on. Amazing Daniel Warren Johnson artwork here. I know that he's not going to be involved in drawing the next arc. They have like a guest artist on there, which I was expecting. I'm honestly just glad he's going to be sticking around for writing duties, at least for another arc. But it would be crazy if he was able to keep up writing and drawing for like an ongoing series, so that's to be expected. But this one has been pretty good. I'm liking it more and more every issue. I'm still not really familiar with all the Autobots, so that part of it feels like I'm missing out on something I should be knowing, but it's definitely still worth picking up at this point for me. Lastly, from Image Comics this week, we got The Deviant number 4. This has been a surprise hit for me. I'm really, really enjoying this one. As a James Tynion title, I think I even enjoy it more than World Tree right now, which are both from Image Comics, right? This has to do with this killer who dresses in a Santa Claus costume, and then this comic book writer that's doing like some investigative reporting, trying to figure out how he's going to write this comic about the killer and really getting to the bottom of it. Talking to like victims, people that have witnessed the murders, people who have been accused of them. And he's just so good at writing dialogue and everything. And I like the artwork too. There's these cool like double page spreads for the title sequences that change in every single issue. It's very, very horror themed. It's like actually pretty scary to read at times. The Santa Claus serial killer is pretty terrifying and probably the best horror comic I've read in a long time, maybe ever. I'm enjoying it a lot. That's a big recommendation from me. Lastly, though, like I said, I did get 6 issues from last week also, which I'll just go over quickly since I wasn't able to make a video. We got Ultimate Black Panther number 1. I would have wanted to do a review of this one, but obviously I was away. I've heard some mixed reviews, so I'll be curious to see what they do with this, but I've heard that there's not really many new concepts in this. It's kind of just an alternate universe Black Panther, but not much more goes into it than that. So we'll see about that. I'm a little unsure of the new Ultimate Universe. Next up, we got Avengers number 10, continuing this Twilight Dreaming story arc where we have the Twilight Court fighting the Avengers. They're trying to get to Kang, who's on his last legs, but has some kind of like knowledge about the future of these world-ending calamities that the Avengers can prevent. I'm liking Jed McKay in Avengers, but it is getting a little repetitive, them just fighting super teams that kind of mirror their players in different ways. A little bit boring if you do it 2 arcs in a row, but I think they have like Fall of X tie-ins coming up in that series, so that should spice things up a little bit. Next up, it's X-Men. This is number 31. Jerry Duggan also writes this tie-in title, so if you're going to be grabbing anything besides the main 2, Fall of the House of X and Rise of the Powers of 10, you should probably be grabbing this one. Nimrod on the cover and everything, so looking forward to that one. Next up, another solo title that's also kind of a team book. This one is Thanos. It's number 3. This is just going to be a 4-issue miniseries. I've really liked the Thanos series they've done in the past. Obviously, like the Donny Cates run that he did on that was really legendary, so I had to pick this up. It has to do with Thanos going after this woman who like somehow has the soul of death within her, which is obviously something that he strived for a long time. But it's this new version of the Illuminati also getting involved that has some of the classic players as well as like Emma Frost and Tony Stark and stuff. Pretty good so far, nothing crazy, but Chris Cantwell is good at writing villains in my opinion. The last one from Marvel I got last week, this is Doctor Strange number 12. Looking forward to this issue for a long time. This is a great Alex Ross cover because it has to do with Bats the Ghost Dog, one of my favorite supporting characters ever, which speaking of Donny Cates, I think he created that character in his run, right? Yeah, so it should be centering around him. I'm looking forward to that. Lastly, the last issue that I picked up that came out last week, this is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World number 12. One of my favorite ongoing series right now. This is number 2 on my top 10 comics of the year for last year. We've got all 3 of the series artists from all 3 story arcs, the past, present, and future of these 2 characters that find love at the end of the world, all coming together for this futuristic look at them when they're older. Really great series. That's a huge recommendation from me. So those were all the issues I picked up this week and last week. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. I appreciate you guys watching. I want to know what you guys are looking forward to this week, though, down in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.